We're back in the kitchen, where we cooked up a new segment to see who has the recipe for success and who is just totally cooked. We also, of course, purchased a pie in our slow evolution towards becoming a cooking show that occasionally talks about sports. Today's pie, what is this pie, Dusty?
This
Can you
is
tell
delicious.
me in my ear?
You should know you've been eating.
Today's pie, sparkling Prosecco apple crumb.
All right, so now
Today's
you guys are getting
segment,
liquored up.
Title pie. Remember I wanted to
eating.
put like the Celtics in there?
Yeah.
That would have been a good idea.
Yeah, but you didn't. And so you
This
didn't actually
is
follow
amazing.
through on that. You
was
did
tasty.
follow through on eating. All right, so here's the deal. There are going to be some new teams on the pie, teams that were previously in the less than 1%. Because now the playoffs are basically underway. This is what I decided. If I think there is a chance you could win a round, then you've got to have a slice of the pie. If I think there's a chance you're one of the final 8 teams, then you've got to have at least a slice of the pie. So play-in or playoff teams that have no slice whatsoever are the following, the less than 1%ers. So it's the 4 teams playing tonight plus the Magic. And I apologize to the Magic, but they've got no chance whatsoever of beating the Celtics. And so we will now get to the teams, new teams to the pie, 1%. Detroit Pistons. They got a chance of beating the Knicks. They got to have a pie. And then right alongside them, the Knicks, who I think will beat the Pistons, but don't have much of a chance at all in round 2 against Boston. To the 2%ers. Listen, I like how the pies now we updated the graphics of it. Did you notice that? Yeah, it kind of fills in. I like that. Well done, graphics team in Charlotte. The Pacers, who are big favorites, according to our friends at DraftKings, in this series. And Halliburton's probably going to be an All-NBA player. They could be in the round of the round of 8, the semifinals, with maybe a chance against Cleveland. I don't know. Also at 2%. The Minnesota Timberwolves, I think they would be dangerous, a real contender to get to the conference finals if they can get to the conference semifinals. They would have a bigger slice if they weren't playing the Lakers, who I think are the most formidable Western Conference team. This might surprise people that the Bucks are only at 3%. They didn't move up even with the Dame news, but that's really just because I don't know how much impact Dame is going to be able to have on this series in round 1, and I think this series in round 1 is going to be a monster to begin with, and they got a 3% slice due to bigger than they probably deserved due to the respect we have for Giannis to begin with. All right, also up to 3%, I should say, Houston.
Wow.
Yeah, I think
up 3%.
Well, I think they're going to beat the Warriors. I think that they're going to beat the Warriors, and then, listen, I don't like their chances against the Lakers in round 2. I would like their chances against the Timberwolves in round 2. I think the draw ended up being not favorable for them, but if I'm them, I'd rather play the Warriors than play the Clippers, who could have fallen, to that 7th spot had the Warriors won that game 82, so they're up to 3%. Down to 3% is Golden State, because when we did the pie last week, we did not know that Golden State was going to fall to the 7 line. We thought Golden State at the time might end up being the 5, potentially, depending on how things fell. Instead, they fall there, and they have the hard-fought and I think unimpressive game against Memphis. They drop a bit. The Clippers also drop. Now, that might sound unfair because they've been nothing but impressive. I just think their draw is brutal. So it's not about how they've played. It's that they end up getting Denver and Joker in round 1. They're on the same side of the bracket as OKC. I think that's brutal. Denver moves up to 5% because I actually like them in this matchup against the Clippers. I also think we thought, well, you fired your coach. You were waving the white flag on the season. Turns out that's not how they viewed it. And Jamal Murray is now back. We have seen him play in full. Joker maybe have a chip on his shoulder if he finds out he's not going to win league MVP, which I don't think he's going to. He probably doesn't actually care, but they're up a tiny bit to 5%. Now to the 4 teams who've had the biggest slices thus far. Up to 10%, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, the Cavs, honestly, since last time we did the pie, nothing has changed for them. So why did they move up to 10%? Because whenever I hear about injections and knees for your second best player, and that's what's happening with Boston, I feel like the Cavs are sitting there saying, well, that sounds, our chances just got greater. We have home court. We don't have an easy path, but round one will be a breeze for both of us. And the Celtics look a little less formidable. Down to 14%, just a tiny bit, down to 14% is Oklahoma City. And that is because I don't care who wins between Clippers Nuggets. That's a brutal round two.
Yeah.
And I think that either way, you are going to be facing a team with a ton of playoff experience, a ton of championship experience, a ton of finals experience, and whoever wins that series, it's either going to be the Nuggets, who are like, hey, Mike Malone was the problem, evidently. We're on fire since then, or the Clippers, who have been one of the best teams in basketball for almost 2 months. Steady at 25% is the Los Angeles Lakers. I didn't think they got a bad draw. It was when we did it last week, we knew they were going to be the 3, or we basically knew. I thought the Timberwolves were basically the median team they could be facing. We knew the Rockets would be where they were, and so they stay exactly where they were. And still the biggest slice, but down just a bit, is the Boston Celtics, and that is because I am going to continue to be concerned is too strong. Alert to what's going on with Jaylen Brown until we see him play at full strength. I don't think the Celtics can beat the Cleveland Cavaliers if Jaylen Brown is not Jaylen Brown. I think. What's up, KW?
I'm taking the other side of that. I think this has been bothering him for a long time.
Yes.
So some of these amazing games that Jaylen had with like great dunks and scoring outputs and great defense, I think his knee was bothering him then. I don't think it's going to be. I think 100%'s off the board, but back to where it was, I think is okay.
So the
a little alarmist is all I'm saying. And
yeah.
as you know, knees down.
That's what I thought.
Basically,
I mean, you are the
Achilles, feet. I'm moving up to knees.
You're the editor of Walking Boot Weekly, and nobody thinks he's
Hobble Watch.
Right. Well, Hobble Watch is a feature in Walking Boot Weekly.
No, it's digital only.
Okay, sorry. Listen, I just think when we look back at Brew and we're like, hey, why didn't that team repeat? Very often it's like, one of their key guys. What happened to the Bucks when they were trying to repeat? Middleton got dinged. Like a lot of times it's one of your key guys is just not 100% or not there, and so I'm putting him at 27%.
No, that's a good pie. I think the Lakers, who I have winning the West as well, deserve a little smaller slice.
Okay.
Like down to maybe 20-ish%, somewhere around there. Because I said they'll beat the Timberwolves in 5. But the Timberwolves are kind of dangerous. You got this upstart young star in Anthony Edwards. So you got that to deal with. Then I think the Warriors, I got the Warriors beating Houston. I think the Warriors are a tough matchup for the Lakers. The Lakers are not, from what I've seen, bothered by size. What they could be bothered by, and granted, it was one game that they played, when both teams were playing well, though, and the Warriors beat them. The Warriors struggle against size, but the Lakers don't really have that anymore. So it's small ball against small ball. Theoretically, in Butler and Draymond, you got two guys that can at least make it tough on Luka and Draymond.
Or Luka and LeBron.
Luka and LeBron, I'm sorry. And so I think that also if Jamal Murray isn't himself, then you've only got a handful of teams in the West with two guys that can get you 25 a night in the playoffs, or 24 a night, whatever you want to say. Luka and LeBron, Kawhi and Harden, and Steph and Jimmy Butler. And again, playoff Jimmy, we've seen signs of him being back. I think if he is, they're dangerous. So I just think that's a tough second-round matchup for the Lakers. I think they win, but it'd be tough. And so I dropped them.
And it sounds like you'd give the whatever percent you take from the Lakers, you'd give to the Warriors.
Yes.
Because here's what I am confident in because of Brew's natural mistrust of young people.
Yes.
If we have Lakers Warriors in round 2, we know if the Lakers win, he's picking them to beat the Thunder. If the Warriors win, I think you'll pick them to beat the Thunder, too.
The Warriors beat the Lakers.
You will pick them to beat the Thunder.
Good chance. Good
Yeah.
chance. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but good chance.
I think that train's coming down the tracks. Go ahead, Wild.
I'm going to give the Knicks a slightly larger slice. And I just want to get the bad news out of the way. Because I think sometimes news can be so bad, actually good.
1-13.
That's right. Okay?
Oh, 0-16.
This is 0-16. Thunder, Celtics, Cavs, Lakers, Warriors, Clippers against title
That's
favorite.
good news? Or that's so bad that it becomes good?
So bad it becomes good, yes.
Oh, I got to hear this.
Remember the story about Lamar and the Steelers?
Yeah.
Can't beat him. And then what happened?
He wasn't
It was one team.
0-16.
It was one. They might be able to beat. Well, I don't see any of those teams they can beat, but still, one team. It wasn't he's can't beat like any of the top contenders.
Lamar beat the Steelers. And then when we were doing over-unders, Brew says, now that you beat the Steelers, that's gone. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Renewed sense of confidence.
Yeah.
Same with the Knicks. All you got to do is get one win against one of these teams. Start feeling good.
KW.
Now, some of these teams you don't even get a chance to play because they're in the Western Conference. So it almost doesn't matter.
KW.
Doesn't Thunder, Lakers,
Celtics,
Warriors,
Cavs.
Clippers.
No,
you can just
that's
throw
what
those
they-
in the garbage.
it's actually-
Doesn't really matter.
KW.
So just take those out, throw those in the garbage, and then it's not that bad. Probably.
Did Josh force you into doing that?
Six.
He didn't. Hold on.
Ramsey. It's Ramsey and Josh.
Hold on. I understand sometimes
0-16.
with these segments, you guys can be in a rough spot because so often it's perfect and you're like, but I'm supposed to pick a flaw.
What if it didn't
But
rain in 16 days?
Hold on. But that's not.
Probably
that's
not.
not.
We're-
that's
we're
not,
due for rain.
Hold on.
That's how
that's
the
not
world
the problem
works.
Here. The problem
How
is
you get
this.
crowd
The problem is
basketball
this.
works.
Just give me a second. You had how many teams were on that pie? 11.
Yeah?
There were 11 teams to choose from.
Yeah.
Put that graphic back up,
Yeah,
if you would,
please.
please. You picked. What's your one take about this basketball season?
Well, the Celtics are obviously winning.
Okay, got it. Who do we know? Because the NBA does not reseed. The Knicks are guaranteed to play if they make it to round 2.
I'm just.
Who
That's
is
not
it?
how I view it.
Who
I
is
view
it?
it in a
It's the
vacuum.
Celtics. Right. That's what I'm saying. So the
I don't do
only
a
question
domino
is
effect.
the only question is this. Could the Knicks beat the Celtics in a series?
Zero chance.
Okay, well, so you're giving them 0% to make round 3. I gave them 1% to win the whole thing, and you're saying make it bigger.
They still deserve a larger slice.
What percent of beat the Celtics in round 2 pie would you give them?
0.
Okay, see, this is...
Well, this is a flaw of the segment. That's not my reasoning. I'll give this.
Just pick. Why didn't you? Can I?
Well, you wanted me to do my pie? Make the whole thing green.
No.
Make it like
that's
St. Patrick's
not what
Day.
it was. That's not what it was.
Green
Brew,
pie, it's called.
No, Brew,
Welcome to another episode of Green
I
Pie.
don't know if you have noticed, but Wild's slow. He is dropping the Rockets off at a fire
I'm
station
not.
and
He got
ringing
no
the
love
bell.
for the Rockets at all.
Wild's,
Have you even picked
I
them over
set
Golden
this
State?
up on.
You gave
a
them
team.
more.
I have them with the same percentage as Golden State. All you've got to do is say defense wins championships. The Rockets are the 2 seed. Warriors are the 7 seed.
Yeah, they
Dylan
rebound.
Brooks this.
You know what the
all that.
number 1 rebounding team is? The Rockets.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, so why didn't you say
could've
just give
played
them a
into
bigger
your
slice?
whole,
That's all you had
it's
to
the
do.
standings.
Jaylen Brunson.
Spend less time in the recliner, more time on Basketball Reference. What is this?
Jaylen Brunson.
Where did this come from? Were you
I'm
supposed
doing
to
the
show me
Knicks.
this early? You weren't done?
I have 3 full screens.
You said they're getting swept by the Celtics.
Okay, Jaylen Brunson, that's good. What's the third one?
I don't even know. Josh did it.
Topped in the season in paint points per game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see the Celtics on there.
Yeah, why is that? You know what it is? Because we don't go in
You
the
don't
paint.
go in the paint.
We don't go in the paint. But if the game slows down,
Jeez.
you know what? If the game slows
Okay.
down,
That means the Knicks could beat the Celtics.
Yeah,
they
game
can't.
slows
But they
down.
deserve a larger slice.
bro, great job.
They do.
It's just
There's a lot of things that there's no chance, but you deserve
I think you've
something.
had too much of this Prosecco.
I haven't had. Actually, I haven't had one bite.
It doesn't sound like it.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.